Episode 2 of our Season 2 Shadow and Bone book versus show breakdown. This breakdown is really easy because everything that happened in Season 2, Episode 2 did not happen in the books. Boom, video over. But actually, I'm going to get into it in a lot more detail, so if you're interested in that, come along for the ride. I will have spoilers for Siege and Storm as well as discussing some plot bits in Crooked Kingdom. Because episode 2 veers so off from the plot of Siege and Storm, I feel like I just have to give a little bit of a rundown of what has happened up to this point in Siege and Storm before I start going into a scene-by-scene breakdown. So far in Siege and Storm, the Darkling has caught up with Mel and Alina, taken them captive, hired Sturmond, and has gone after the Sea Whip. The Darkling is the one instigating pretty much all of this, and he is the one deciding to go after the Sea Whip. Alina is not interested in going after the Sea Whip. Once they find the Sea Whip and catch it in a net, Sturmond's crew rebels against the Darkling. A whole other ship shows up. They fight the Darkling and flee on their own ship. They have Alina, Mel, and the Sea Whip with them, and then leave all of the Darkling's people behind. They bring the Sea Whip up on deck and ask Alina to kill the Sea Whip so that way she can have the second amplifier. Alina is very hesitant to kill the Sea Whip, but Mel comes up, wraps his hands around her hands on a harpoon, and together they drive it into the Sea Whip. Then Alina is given 7 scales from the Sea Whip strung together, and Alina is not interested in having a second amplifier at this point, but she does accept them because she doesn't feel like she can just throw them overboard, but she decides not to use them as an amplifier. That's pretty much everything you need to know about what has happened in Siege and Storm so far up to this point. Now let's get into what happened in the show and why it differs from the book. I'm going to go through this a storyline at a time, so first I'm going to focus on Alina's storyline, then I'm going to touch on the Darkling a little bit, and then we're going to talk about the crows. We have a scene early on in episode 2 where Alina and Mel comment on the fact that magic users and non-magic users are working side by side together on the boat. I don't know if the show is going to go into this further, but the first and second army, which is the army of magic users and non-magic users, do combine in Siege and Storm to fight the Darkling. So I'm not sure if this is a nod to that or if they're going to take inspiration from this and continue that on in the show. I've not watched past episode 2, so I'm not really sure what they're going to do with that yet. While they're on the ship, Alina has a discussion with crew members on the ship and talks about wanting to combine all 3 amplifiers. This is not something she wants at this point in the story. She does not even want the second amplifier. Later on in the story, she does decide to combine all 3 amplifiers, but at this point, she's not even interested in the Sea Whip. Alina says she does not plan on killing the Sea Whip, which I'm not really sure what her plan was. If she's the one instigating going after the Sea Whip and hunting it down, she does not divulge her plan in the show, and she doesn't end up executing whatever her plan was, so I guess it doesn't matter that much, but I just find this line a little bit odd. It does reflect her feelings in the book, where she has no interest in the Sea Whip and doesn't want to kill it. Then we meet up with the Sea Whip in a cave, which in the book, this does not happen in a cave. This happens on board the ship. They do have longbows that they send out, but this happens on the open sea, not in a cave on an island. In the show, Alina uses magic to kill the Sea Whip after it starts attacking Mel. As I said, in the book, they just drag the Sea Whip up on the deck, and Mel and Alina both kill it with a harpoon. After the Sea Whip is dead, we do have a scene of the sailors grieving or remembering those that they have lost, but this is those that they have lost in fighting the Darkling, not those that they have lost in fighting the Sea Whip. I don't believe anyone dies in the capture of the Sea Whip in the book, but there are people who die fighting the Darkling. In the books, amplifiers are not something that are absorbed into the skin the way they are in the show. This has the amplifiers being absorbed into Alina, whereas in the book, they strung the scales together and gave that to Alina for Alina to use to amplify her magic, but there was no need to absorb the scales into her skin. Mel glowing here is definitely set up for the plot twist of book 3. I have heard that basically we go through books 2 and 3 in the show so far, so we're definitely speeding the timeline up a lot by showing this here. But since we've not gotten to that reveal in the show so far, I'm not going to discuss past episode 2, but I can definitely see where this is going. Then we have Alina using her magic right away, which is of course not something that she does in the book because at the point that she accepts the second amplifier, she does not intend to use it. Also, I think Alina's a little reckless with this light display here, but okay, if that's what they wanted to do. Next, we'll discuss the Darkling. So Genya is with the Darkling on the ship whenever they're going after the Sea Whip. Genya actually has the opportunity to stop Alina from getting away whenever they fight the Darkling, and Genya decides to let Alina go, which is something the Darkling punishes her for. We don't see any of that in the show, although we might have hints of some things not really being okay between Genya and the Darkling, but it's not really expanded on so far in this episode. We also have the Darkling displaying physical ailments after creating the Nichavoya, or his shadow army. This isn't something that's discussed in the book at all, although I'm not sure how much Alina would know that the Darkling's suffering these physical ailments, so I guess you could put this under plausible. And then we have the Darkling's connection to Alina still whenever Alina is absorbing the second amplifier. We see the Darkling's hand lighting up like the Sun Summoner magic. I think this is just alluding to the fact that Alina and the Darkling do have a connection in the book and possibly some shared magic traits, although that's not really discussed until the very end of Siege and Storm and the beginning of Ruin and Rising. So this might just be set up for that. And now let's talk about the crows. Early on, we see flashbacks of young Kaz. This is something that we find out about in Six of Crows, and this pretty much follows what happens in Six of Crows as far as we know of Kaz's backstory. I assume we're going to get more reveals of Kaz's backstory and Kaz's connection to Pekka as the show goes on. Then we have a scene with all the crows sitting down discussing Kaz's plan, and Kaz is basically saying that he wants revenge on Pekka Rollins. This feels like it's alluding to something that happens in Crooked Kingdom. It's not following the plot exactly, but Kaz does want revenge on Pekka Rollins in Crooked Kingdom. Also in Crooked Kingdom, Kaz breaks into Pekka Rollins' office and gets caught, and escapes using Wyland's bomb. Now it is both Kaz and Wyland who break into Pekka Rollins' office, and Nina is not around to help them. It's obviously not following Crooked Kingdom exactly, but we're getting hints of possible Crooked Kingdom plots. On top of that, Pekka Rollins does send someone after Inej, so the fight scene with Inej is reminiscent of something that happens in Crooked Kingdom. And to top it all off, them hiding in the Plague Cemetery is exactly where they hide in Crooked Kingdom. This is all very reminiscent of Crooked Kingdom. I don't believe they're totally following the plot of Crooked Kingdom, though it does make me wonder where they will go with the crows after this. Honestly, I didn't really care for this episode, not necessarily because it's veering away from the book so far, but just because I felt like some of the scenes were forced and unnecessary, particularly on Alina and the Sea Whip side of things. There were several moments that just didn't really land for me. First off, I'm not really captivated by Sturmhond. He's supposed to be charismatic, witty, and I'm not really getting attached to his character like I was in the books. Also, we have potty humor from him early on in the episode, and it just felt a little bit weird. Like, maybe they're trying to make Sturmhond humorous, but I didn't feel like it was pulled off very well. And then we have Alina and Mel walking the decks of the ship, which this is only the second time they've ever been on a boat in their entire life. And Mel decides to grab a lever because he can, I guess. Why is Mel grabbing this lever? And then we have my least favorite scene in the entire episode, which is Alina coming into Sturmhond's office and demanding to know why they're going off course, and him explaining that the wind direction changed, so they're actually moving faster, but they just diverted course slightly. And 2 seconds later, Tamar comes in and says, "We're here." So obviously they weren't going off course that much, and I'm not even sure why Alina would notice that they were off course. She's never been on a ship before. These scenes just felt forced and unnecessary. Why are we doing this? So far, I'm enjoying the Crows plotline much better than Alina's plotline. We get some fantastic scenes with the crows. I really like if Nina is talking about whether or not they're still serving breakfast, and she gets the waffle and she knows where the office is. All of that seems very Nina. And then we get Jesper and Wyland's conversation, which is absolute gold. I really enjoyed a lot of the plot lines of the crows. So this episode was kind of a mix for me, but right now I'm not really feeling it, though I'm hoping the season turns around and we get a lot better episodes. Let me know in the comments if there's any difference between the books and shows that I missed, if there's anything you'd like to discuss, what your favorite and least favorite parts of the season are so far. Just chat with me, Grisha, and I hope to see you in another video.